Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تبارك وتعالى وخير هدى هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة ثم أما بعد. We are in the 29th day of Ramadan. ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يتقبل منا أعمالنا صالحا فيه ويعفو عنا من تقصيرنا وذنوبنا إنه سميع الدعاء. Ameen. We ask Allah to accept all that we did in this month of our good deeds, forgive us for our shortcomings, to wipe away that which we did of the bad, and we ask Allah that may He pardon us, as He is the one who loves the pardon. He is the one who hears the invocation. Ameen. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, in this segment we want to talk a little bit about Laylatul Qadr, as we had intended to talk about some benefits. وَقَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ, and Allah wrote that we didn't get a chance to up until now. And we want to talk about Barakallahu Fikum, also the issue of hijama during the time of fasting. The issue of hijama while fasting is a debatable issue, but there is a conclusion to it. Likewise, the issue of Laylatul Qadr is a great affair, and Allah wa ta'ala and His Messenger calls us to seek that night. So from the benefits that we want to mention about Laylatul Qadr, it stems from the Fatawa of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, where he talks about a person seeking the Laylatul Qadr in both the even and the odd nights, and that one person's Laylatul Qadr may be even while the other person's may be odd. And someone asked me about this on a couple of occasions, and this is why I want to mention the benefit concerning that. We understand that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he commanded us to seek it in the last 10 nights, alayhi salam. And he also sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded us to look for it, to seek it in the odd nights. So most people, they look for it in the odd nights. And we know that in the beginning of the affair of Ramadan, when it was legislated to fast in the month of Ramadan, and the Muslims were in Al-Medina, that Allah wa ta'ala gave the Prophet the knowledge of which night it would be, and that was Laylatul Saba wa Ishrun, the 27th night. Then we understand that some companions started to bicker, started to argue as to which night they thought it would be. رَفَعَ شَأْنَهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى مِنْهُمْ, and therefore Allah raised the knowledge from us on earth, which the knowledge was already with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will remain with Him, as this is from the affairs of the ghaib, the unseen, when it will be. Thus the Prophet, it was commanded, as he doesn't speak from his desires, it was commanded from revelation that it will be in the 10 nights, and that we should seek it in the 10 nights. And he also said seek it in the odd nights, which would mean 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. So the statement of Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, we had mentioned that Abdullah ibn Abbas, he was in Sham. Sham was known to be Damascus, Jordan, Syria, and this whole region, Duna, Iraq. Iraq is separate. Sham is known to be, as we said again, Jordan, Syria, the likes of these areas. So Abdullah ibn Abbas, the cousin of the Prophet, the one that the Prophet, he hugged him and he asked Allah, Allahumma allamahu din wa fiqahu. Teach him the religion and give him deep insight regarding it. And we know that the dua of the Prophet ﷺ is answered. Any dua of any prophet or messenger is answered. Thus, Sara Abdullah ibn Abbas, Turjaman al-Quran, the one who is known, Habl Ummah, Turjaman al-Quran, the one who is the Sahaba with the nickname, the interpreter of the Quran. Doesn't negate any other Sahaba that Allah blessed with that knowledge and that ability, but he is the main one because of the dua of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdullah ibn Abbas traveled from Sham back to Medina. He traveled from Sham back to Medina. And as we know, the travel, barakallahu fikum, in that day was by foot, animal, or by water, no planes. So when he left Sham, the people had spouted the hilal. As the Prophet mentioned, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ مَاذَا فَافْتَرُوا. Naam, if you all see it, then you break your fast. So they broke the fast in Sham, which means Abdullah ibn Abbas is with them. You break with the Jama'ah. If the Jama'ah they break, you break. If they start to fast, you fast. This is the rule of Islam. When he arrived back to Medina, the same day that they hadn't ended, he arrived back in Medina. He found that the Muslims were still fasting. They did not treat that day as a Eid. So the point here is that if we take this scenario, we understand that someone will have Eid today and someone will have Eid tomorrow. Likewise, as it relates to the last 10 days of Ramadan, depending on who started fasting, where and when, it's possible that for me in my region, in my locale, it's the 20th night, which is the beginning of the first 10 nights of Ramadan. And it's possible for someone else, depending on his region and when he or she began fasting, that it's the 21st night for them. So the point of the Shaykh's fatwa is that that person who starts and it's the 20th night for him now, he has to wait if Ramadan is decreed to be on the 21st night to catch it tomorrow night. Whereas those people that started ahead of him, they're in their 21st night now, that's their Laylatul Qadr. So therefore, someone is going to have Laylatul Qadr on an even night. Someone's going to have it on an odd night, based on when he started, when he fasted. And then we understand, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, to seek it in all 10. So whereas if it's the 20th night here and Laylatul Qadr for me is now, and then for you, if you started yesterday and it's 21st night for you, you catch it. If you seek it in all 10, you can't go wrong. And there's nothing written in stone that is going to be in the odd nights. It could be in the even night. As some of the brothers, they mentioned that they said last night was Laylatul Qadr, they believed, because they said when the morning came, the sun had no rays and it was like a brass colored round in the sky. We know this is one of the signs that the prior night was Laylatul Qadr. But that was on an odd night, or an even night. It was on the 28th night. 28th night. And the next day, on the 28th day, as the night precedes the day, he's seen that sun, which is a clear indication from the statement of the Prophet, seek it in all 10. It can be either in the even, as in this case, or in the odd. As on the 25th night, it rained that night. And there's another sign of Laylatul Qadr, that it rains that night. Another sign, yani Tanzila Sakina, that Allah sends down tranquility. And we know, like in some places, you won't have any crime that night. Normally somebody's being shot, some robberies, no crime that night. You say subhanAllah, and you can feel it in the environment and in the air, just so peaceful. It's another sign. So the advice around Laylatul Qadr, although in some places they have already said they sighted the moon, such as in Mamlakatul Arabiyyah to Saudiya, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or fi Jamhuratul Arabiyyah to Nasriya, in the Republic of Egypt, or fi Spain in China, or fi Amania in Germany, or fi Urdun in Jordan, ومن غير ذلك من الأماكن, even though they said, as they are hours ahead of us here in the States, that yani, for them it's Eid, Laylatul Eid. Eid is Al-An. And tomorrow, Yawm al-Eid lahum. And for them, tomorrow is the day of Salah and Dhikr, eating and drinking. Although that's the case, we want to make sure we understand that. As some people, maybe, for them, they're going to go 30 days. Then that means they should seek it tonight. They should seek it yani, in the 30th night, and not say, well, I did it in all of the odd nights. Yikafi, that's enough. The Prophet said, seek it on the 21st, the 23rd, the 25th, 27th, 29th. La, seek it from the first of those nights, which is the 20th night, to the last night. This is the guidance of the Prophet, because no one knows when the Laylatul Qadr would be. So this is what Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah meant by someone's odd night will be someone's even night, Laylatul Qadr. And this is easy for Tabarak wa Ta'ala to make somebody's Laylatul Qadr this night and somebody else's that night. وَذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. It's easy for Allah, as Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala وَعَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. He has power over all affairs. He has the power to do everything. Allah is not restricted in any affair. Alhamdulillah. Tayyib. As we move forward to the second issue, and that is the issue of the hijama. It was a issue that some people talked about on the forum. Some people mentioned amongst themselves. And one of the masajid in New Jersey, somebody asked, down south, it's a famous issue. Does getting hijama break the fast or not? Can you get hijama and still fast? We understand that if you go to Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned some hadith in the narration of the Sahaba. We'll try to go real quick, inshallah. Bab al-Hijama, or Kitab Hijama, the book of Hijama. Tayyib. This is in Sahih Bukhari, Hijama Sahih Imam al-Bukhari. In that book, you have also Bab al-Siyam al-Musafirin, al-Musafirin. Bab al-Siyam fi Safr, the chapter of fasting while traveling. Then you have Bab al-Siyam Ramadan fi Safr, the travel in Ramadan while a person is fasting. So you have the likes of these chapters of Qamaqil, or as it is entitled. It doesn't have the book, and humans, they make mistakes, so if I'm misquoting, I'm paraphrasing. Tayyib, if we take Kitaba Mada Hijama, the first hadith that is mentioned, the hadith Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And when we say hadith here, we mean it's not reported by Abu Hurairah to the Prophet. It's just a statement of Abu Hurairah, which means that I follow the narration of the Sahaba. And Abu Hurairah, he said that the hijama, and it does not break the fast. But the hijama does not break the fast. And then he mentioned Imam al-Bukhari, that is a narration of some of the other Sahaba, such as Ibn Umar, the son of Umar ibn al-Khattab, that he used to get hijama in the daytime while he would be fasting. He used to receive hijama in tajamu wa huwa sa'imun. While he was fasting, he would get hijama. ثم تركه في نهار وانتجم في الليل. Then he stopped and he left off getting hijama in the daytime, and he only did it at night. وهكذا جاء رواية عن أبو موسى الأشعري كان ماذا انتجم في الليل ليلا. And Bukhari narrates that Abu Musa al-Ash'ari used to only do it in the nighttime. وَنَفْرٌ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ كَانُوا عَلَى ذَلِكَ. And a group of Sahaba used to do it in the nighttime. وَهَكَذَا مِنْهُمْ كَانُوا فِي النَّهَارِ انْتَجِمُوا وَهُمْ صَائِمُونَ. And then there were a group of them used to do it in the daytime while they were fasting. And Alqamah وأم Utiyah, Soldier Rasulullah sallam, mentioned that they used to get, the women, Niswa, used to get hijama in the presence of Aisha, wala tunha, and she used to be silent about it. She didn't tell them don't do it. And for riwayat, wala nunha, and we were not prevented from doing it. So this is an indication that some of them used to do it while fasting, some of them while not. ثم سأل أنس بن مالك وهو خادم رسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام عن هذه المسألة. So then Anas bin Malik was asked, and you know he's the khatam of the messenger, meaning the servant. لما قدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في المدينة جاء أنس معه وقال أنه يخدمك يا رسول الله. And when he arrived in Al-Medina, Anas' mother came with him, and she said to the Prophet, he's going to be your servant. So therefore we find Anas as a young child narrating on the Prophet. كان صحاب صغير, was from the young Sahaba. As he grew up, they would ask him narrations, and one of them is about the hijama. They asked him, did you all used to tankarun hijama? That you all used to disapprove or talk against hijama fi ahdi Rasulullah, in the time of the Prophet? And he said, La illa li ajli da'f. La illa li ajli da'f. He said no, except for the issue of being weakened by it. So we understand when we talk about how to divide the issue as it relates to those who say hijama doesn't break the fast and those who say that it does. Then if you take the narration of Abdullah ibn Abbas, which comes in the Sahih Bukhari, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم انتجم وهو صائما ومحرما. The Prophet used to receive hijama while he was fasting and while he was in the state of ihram. Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Bad, من أكبر علمائنا في حديث حي هذه الأزمنة، ذكر عن هذا الشأن من هذه أحاديث أنه ليس محفوظ أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان ينتجم وهو صائما ومحرما في وقت واحد، أنه ليس ثابت عنه عليه الصلاة والسلام أنه كان في صوم، وأنه كان في إحرام، وأنه في ذلك حين انتجمه. He said that it is not authentically reported, it's not mahfuz, meaning it is not sahih, that the Prophet was in a state of ihram, which means in a state of making hajj or umrah, and he was fasting at the same time and received hijama. He said no. What's meant by this narration of Abdullah ibn Abbas, إما كان صائما وانتجم وما كان ماذا محرما في إحرام وانتجم. Either he was fasting and he received the hijama while fasting, or he was in the state of ihram and received it while in the state of ihram, but not he's fasting and in ihram and he got hijama. Because here the statement of Anas clearly shows, was it disliked in the time of the Prophet? This means that it's sunnah. If the Prophet was alive and the Sahaba disliked something, or the Prophet was alive and the Sahaba did something, this means it's considered sunnah. So the Prophet didn't like it that a person was fasting and got hijama, although he himself, it's recorded that he did it while fasting. He didn't like it because of the issue of making or causing weakness, which could potentially cause a harm to that person. So therefore, even though the Prophet ﷺ is recorded that he got it while he was fasting or in the state of ihram, he did not combine between ihram, fasting, and then do a hijama. Because understand, in ihram, and you're making tawaf, be it umrah or al-hajj, then you make sa'i bain al-madha al-safa wal-marwa, you go between the mountains, sab'a marat, then tusalli khalfa maqam Ibrahim raka'atayn, you pray 2 rak'ah behind the station of Ibrahim. This is a lot of exertion. Then on top of that, you're going to fast, abstain from food and drink, and get the hijama? La yafham aql hadha abadan. The one who has intellect doesn't understand it from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alladhi ba'ath Allah lana rahmatan lil alamin. Naam, the one that Allah sent as a mercy to us. Yani the one who kana bil mu'minina ra'uf rahim. Allah described him as a person very compassionate, concerned for the believers. فكيف كان ذاك؟ اجتمع ماذا بين الإحرام والصوم والهجامة في وقت واحد؟ لا أبدا. He will never do all three. Sahih. So it is to be understood, Shaykh clarified, Shaykh Abdul Muhsin, that the narration of Abdullah ibn Abbas said the Prophet received hijama while he was fasting and in ihram. It doesn't mean at the same time, mean while he was fasting and while he was in ihram, but not at the same time. And the Prophet ﷺ, he also mentioned, Barakallahu fikum, that the one who is giving the hijama is better than the one who's receiving it. And the Shaykh explained also why. Because the one who's receiving it, he's going to experience some da'f, some weakness, because of the amount of blood and that which is coming out of the body. So the Prophet, he mentioned that, showing that it could have been disliked, makruh, if he's saying the one who does it is better than the one who receives it. And then we understand the argument that some people try to say that it doesn't break the fast, because as Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said himself, الذي يولج يفطر الصوم والذي وبارك الله فيكم يخرج لا يفطر الصوم. That which goes into the body breaks the fast, and not that which comes out. الأكل والشرب من الطعام والشراب يفطر الصوم لما لن تدخل الطعام والشراب يعني واضح أنه يفطر الصوم. And that is because the one who is eating and drinking, consumption of any type of food and drink breaks the fast. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned يعني clearly that the person يعني leaves his food and drink. Now, but that which you discard from the body does not break the fast. That's the statement of the Sahaba. But we understand you cannot take the statement of any Sahaba. Walau kan Abdullah ibn Abbas fawqa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Cannot take it above the statement of the Prophet. And yani barakallahu fikum, everybody's statement could be accepted or rejected except the Prophet. This goes for the Sahaba as well. So here, this is not yani true. Abdullah Abbas is saying that the fast is only breaking by what you take inside the body, not what goes out. And Shaykh Abdul Muhsin, he clarified that by saying that just as Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and his messenger mentioned yani the intercourse with the wife, which yani in this scenario is the khuruj ma'adha al-mani. Naam, khuruj al-mani, sperm, ejaculation. Yuftar as-sawm, it breaks the fast, and this is something going in the body or coming out. It's coming out of the body. وهكذا يعني ماذا الغيع, to vomit intentionally. This is a hadith with Abdullah ibn Abbas and others say يعني الغيع لا يفطر الصوم. Vomiting does not break the fast. But here what's meant يعني غير متعمدا, meaning not intentionally vomiting. It doesn't break the fast. But something that happens to you beyond your control obviously cannot break the fast. So as a person sleeping and having discharge of sperm, doesn't break his fast. لن يعني الأقلام يعني رفع منه, because the pen is lifted while he's sleeping. هكذا نعم. And even some scholars, they mention if he's thinking about something يعني and he ejaculates, خلاص لا عليه بشيء. But if he purposely does something to ejaculate, then this is when it's upon him. So Shaykh made the point, just as the dispatching of sperm breaks the fast, such is a evidence for vomiting, which vomit comes from the body like sperm. Such is a evidence for large amounts of blood, such as in the case of hijama. And this was the wajh the Shaykh he mentioned of Shaykh Abdul Muhsin to dispel the misconception and the statement of the Sahaba, such as Abdullah ibn Abbas saying what goes in breaks the fast and not what comes out. And so therefore you find in conclusion statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam في ماذا عام فتح المكة, في عام فتح مكة وهكذا كان في شهر رمضان. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سافر من مدينة إلى مكة. They were يعني traveling from Medina to Mecca in the month of Ramadan in the 10th year of the Hijrah, which is the year of the conquest of Mecca. And before they got to Mecca, Prophet witnessed Sahaba struggling with difficulty in the fast, and the fast of obligation, and Ramadan was upon them. But because of travel, then the ruling becomes a choice. You can choose or to keep your fast, you can choose to keep it or break it. And Prophet he mentioned that if a person can keep it without hardship, this is what's preferred, and this is what the ulama say. Pardon me, that the Prophet give the choice. If the person is not taxed or with difficulty during travel, he may keep it, and if he is taxed while traveling and fasting, he may break it. The scholars say from this to be understood is that الصيام في السفر لمن يستطيع هذا أولى, هذا يعني قدام ويعني من باب أولى. This is most preferred, that if you have no difficulty in maintaining your fast during traveling, that you keep it. And that is so that you won't owe days after Ramadan, that you won't be faced with having to make up days, which that becomes a sin on you if the next Ramadan approaches and you didn't make up days. So to avoid that, if you have the physical ability, although you're fasting and you have the traveling excuse to break it, you should maintain it. وَإِنْ كَانَ الصُّعُوبَةُ مِنَ الْمُشَقَّةِ فَقَدْ قَالَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس بِرَّ أن تصوم مع مشقة كما قال. Sallam said it is not righteousness to fast while you have great difficulty, meaning for the supererogatory fast. And when you travel in Ramadan, that fast falls under the ruling now of the supererogatory, meaning you have the rukhsan, we should say, not supererogatory. It remains far, because if it was supererogatory, you wouldn't have to make it up. So that's a mistake. It's far, ولكن في رخصة لمن لم يستطيع أو لمن يشق عليه الصوم في السفر وله أن يفطر إن كان عليه مشقة وله أن يمسك الصوم إن كان له قدرة كما يقول أهل العلم. So if he has the ability, ولا شيء عليه, and there's no difficulty for him, let him maintain it, because it's safer for him to not owe days outside of Ramadan. And if it's difficulty for him, then he has ruqsan, has special permission from Allah to break his fast. We mentioned that and coming to the end to say that when they were traveling from Medina to Mecca, the Prophet seen one individual complaining about the sun. So the Prophet and the man complained repeatedly about Ashamsu, there's too much sun. So the Prophet told him to break his fast. And he said, Ashamsu, it's hot. The Prophet said, break your fast. He kept repeating the situation at hand, thinking that it's piety to keep his fast, because they were in Ramadan. So Prophet ﷺ, what he did, he called for some milk in one narration, and he himself drank the milk to show the people the ease of Islam. That if it's a difficulty upon you, you're fasting in Ramadan, and you're traveling, break your fast. And make your days up at another time. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, فَإِدَّةٍ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. Then make up the days outside of Ramadan from another number of days. Therefore, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned يُفْتَرُ الصَّوْمِ الْحَاجِمُ وَالْمَحْجُومِ. Naam, the one who gives the hijama as well as the receiver of hijama breaks the fast. And as Shaykh al-Muhsin al-Vad said, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, many of these hadith or da'if, the narrations, the chain, the turuq, أكثرهم وكثير منهم يعني da'if. Most of the chains of transmission for this hadith that states the one who gives hijama, cupping, Chinese cupping, and the receiver, it breaks the fast, or da'if. However, فيها الذي صحيح, there are some that are sahih, وهم أقل, and they are the minority, the ones that are sahih or more than the ones that are da'if. But as the Shaykh said, يكفي الذي صحيح, those that are sahih is enough for us as a dalil. The Prophet's statement, the one who gives the cupping as well as the receiver, it breaks the fast. And if we take that statement along with Anas ibn Malik's statement, La illa li'ajli da'af, only because of the weakness that it brings to the body, then we understand this is the reason that the jamhur, the masses of the scholars, they take the opinion that breaking the fast, it includes taking hijama. And that the Prophet ﷺ, he received it while fasting, but there was a need for it. So if you have a need, then you can get the hijama. But according to the statement of the Prophet, at that point you have broken your fast. And For those who say he himself received the hijama while he was fasting is a dalil, then we say قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يتقدم من أفعاله. It goes before his action. His statements take precedence over his actions, and we understand this from his statement that the one who gives the hijama and the one who receives it, barakallahu fikum, it is that which breaks the fast. فإلا فنقول أنه مكروه أقل. It is detested at least to get it while you are fasting, the hijama, because of the issue of the weakness that it causes to the body, and at most it is that which breaks the fast, as the Prophet mentioned, showing that anything that will cause a person weakness or put them in a situation where they would have to break the fast, then it breaks the fast. Wallahu musta'an, wa billahi musta'an, wa alayhi tuqlan. Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى يكتب لنا أجرا عظيم ويعفو عنا كثير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا هو أستغفره ونتوب إليه. جزاكم الله خير الجزاء. قبل الله منا ومنكم. عيد مبارك، فوز عظيم، وجزاكم الله خير.